The question of whether marijuana should be legal in the U.S. for medicinal purposes has been in the news lately, with many groups touting its benefits and others warning of its negative effects. In order to get a better idea of the issues surrounding these arguments, let's take a closer look at marijuana's history and where we are now. Not many people know that marijuana's use as a medical treatment goes back many centuries. We're in the world's oldest pharmacopoeia, the Pen Zhao Jing, believed to have originated in China in 2700 BCE. Cannabis was recognized as being useful for over 100 ailments, including rheumatic pain, gout, and malaria. By 1000 BCE, cannabis had reached India, quickly spreading throughout the continent, and was used both medicinally and recreationally. Over the next few centuries, cannabis use spread through many cultures via the various trade routes, including to Assyria, South America, and was used in Arabic medicine. Cannabis use was introduced to the West by an Irish physician in 1839. William O'Shaughnessy. With the publication of his work titled On the Preparations of Indian Hemp, or Gunja, the medicinal use of cannabis spread to Europe and North America. It was in 1860 that the Committee on Cannabis Indica of the Ohio State Medical Society reported its successful treatment for many ailments. Medical cannabis use peaked in the late 1800s and early 1900s and was readily available over the counter. Eventually, though, its use began to decline. Opiates had become a preferred analgesic, and with the development of the hypodermic needle in 1853 by Charles Pervaz and Alexander Wood, opioid treatment for pain relief became widespread. However, by the 1930s, cannabis use for recreational purposes was increasing, which prompted narcotics enforcement agencies to call for its restriction. Interestingly, the American Medical Association's opinion at that time was that cannabis should remain available for medical use. They advised that there was no evidence, quote, to show that its medicinal use is leading to the development of cannabis addiction, close quote. Then in 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was enacted, and in 1941, cannabis, the plant from which marijuana is made, was removed from the American Pharmacopoeia. Cannabis as a medical treatment ceased to exist until the 1970s, although its recreational use continued to rise. In the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, some amazing discoveries were made regarding the properties of cannabis and how they relate to its medicinal effects. They include, in 1964, delta-9-tetrahydrocannabinol was discovered as the active ingredient in cannabis. This is also known as THC. In 1988, receptor CB1 was identified as being the binding site of THC and the most abundant neurotransmitter receptor in the central nervous system. Shortly thereafter, CB2 was identified as a second cannabinoid receptor and was found to be localized in the peripheral nervous system and on immune cells. However, because marijuana was classified as a Schedule I drug by the Controlled Substances Act in 1970, its use continues to be illegal on a federal level, both recreationally and medicinally. This classification states that marijuana has, quote, a high potential for abuse, no currently accepted medical use in treatment in the United States, and a lack of accepted safety for use of the drug or other substance under medical supervision. In 1996, California citizens voted to legalize cannabis for medical use under Proposition 215. Since that time, 30 more states have approved cannabis for either medical use, some with restrictions on accessibility, or unconditionally. According to the Marijuana Policy Report, as of 2017, California has the highest number of medical marijuana users in the country. Currently, there are many opinions on the safety and efficacy of marijuana use for medical purposes. According to a 2007 article entitled Cannabinoids in Health and Disease by Natalia M. Kogan and Raphael Mechoulam in Dialogues in Clinical Neuroscience, some benefits of medical marijuana use are relief from migraine headaches, lessening of seizures and neurological symptoms, pain relief, suppression of angiogenesis and tumor invasion, lowering of intraocular pressure in glaucoma treatment, and lessening of cancer treatment side effects such as nausea and weight loss. They also reported that some risks may be loss of coordination, psychiatric conditions in adolescence, cognitive dysfunction, possible mild addiction, may lead to abuse of other substances, and amotivational syndrome. As of right now, research is continuing to take place on the efficacy and safety of cannabis use. And with marijuana becoming more readily available, there will be more reliable data upon which to base our opinions about whether marijuana is a viable option for medical use in the future.